Have you ever felt like your own emotions were steering the wheel of your life, and no matter how hard you tried to grab control, they just kept pulling you in the wrong direction? One minute you're calm, collected, and telling yourself you've got it all under control. The next, a single text, a single glance, or a single comment from someone can send you spiraling into anger, fear, or self-doubt. It's like your rational mind disappears, and something else takes over. You say things you regret. You make choices that don't reflect who you truly are. And afterward, you're left wondering, why did I let myself react like that? Deep down, it's not that you're weak. It's that you've never been taught how to use your emotions instead of being used by them. The truth is, emotions are not the enemy. They're messengers. They're your body and mind's way of telling you something about your values, your boundaries, your needs. The real problem begins when we stop hearing the message and start being consumed by the noise. In those moments, it's as if we lose the power to decide. We let the storm carry us instead of choosing our own direction. That's when regret creeps in. That's when we start living on someone else's terms, reacting to their actions instead of acting from our own strength. But imagine this. What if you could feel every emotion fully without being trapped by it? What if you could experience anger, sadness, or fear, and still make decisions from a place of calm power? Picture a life where your heart can race, your chest can tighten, but you remain steady, able to speak with clarity, choose your words carefully, move in the direction you want, no matter what's happening around you. That is not just possible, it's a skill you can learn. When you master your emotions, you don't just gain control in tense moments. You gain freedom. Freedom from the endless cycle of reacting and regretting. Freedom to show up as the person you want to be, even when the pressure is high. Freedom to turn every challenge into a chance to prove to yourself just how powerful you really are. This isn't about becoming cold or detached. It's about becoming so grounded that nothing and no one can push you off balance. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover is the difference between living a life that's constantly dictated by whatever mood or impulse shows up, and living a life where you call the shots. By the time we're done, you'll know how to step into that small but critical space between what you feel and what you do. And when you can live in that space, when you can choose instead of react, you'll never be controlled by your emotions again. That is the kind of power that changes everything. And it starts right now. You've tried before, haven't you? You've told yourself to stay calm, to not let something get under your skin, to rise above it. But the moment it happens, the wrong tone, the unexpected rejection, the sudden disappointment, your chest tightens, your pulse quickens, and your mind starts racing. Logic fades. Clear thinking feels impossible. It's not because you lack discipline or strength. It's because your body reacts faster than your mind. Before your thoughts have a chance to catch up, your nervous system has already launched you into fight, flight, or freeze. This is biology, not weakness, and the sooner you understand it, the sooner you can master it. Your emotions are wired for survival. Thousands of years ago, reacting instantly kept your ancestors alive. A noise in the dark meant danger. A sudden change in someone's expression could signal a threat. The body learned to respond in seconds, bypassing the slow process of reasoning. But now, in a world where most dangers are not life or death, that same ancient wiring works against you. The same chemical rush that once saved lives now pushes you to send the angry message, say the hurtful words, or make the impulsive decision you regret later. Recognizing this truth is the first step to reclaiming control. You cannot wait until you are in the middle of an emotional storm to learn how to steer. You must prepare before it hits. Just like an athlete trains before the game, emotional mastery is built in the quiet moments, not in the chaos. Every time you practice awareness in calm conditions, you are rewiring your brain to respond differently when pressure arrives. This is not about avoiding emotions, but about conditioning yourself to meet them with clarity. Think of every emotional surge as a wave. You can either let it crash over you, pulling you under, or you can learn to ride it without losing your balance. The difference comes from preparation. It comes from training your mind to notice the first signs, the quickened breath, the rising heat, the sudden shift in your focus, and creating space before the wave breaks. That space is everything. That space is your power. And here's the truth that changes the game. You are not at the mercy of these waves. You have the ability to step back, even for just a second, and choose your response. It might feel impossible now, but every time you practice, you strengthen that skill. The more you strengthen it, the less control your emotions will have over you. Imagine how different your life will feel when you are no longer dragged in directions you never wanted to go. When every decision you make, even under pressure, reflects your values, your goals, and your highest self. That is not just emotional control, that is emotional freedom. And once you claim it, you will never live the same way again. There is a tiny gap between what you feel and what you do, and inside that gap lives your entire power. Most people never even notice it. The feeling hits, the body reacts, and the action follows without a single breath in between. But the moment you learn to see that space, to recognize that split second of choice, you begin to take back your life. It doesn't have to be long. It might be just a pause, a heartbeat, a breath. Yet in that moment, you are no longer a passenger being carried away by emotion. You are the driver, hands firmly on the wheel. This is not about removing emotion from your life. It's about no longer being owned by it. When you widen that gap, you take back the ability to respond instead of react. You stop letting someone else's words determine your actions. You stop letting fear decide your next step. You stop letting anger write your story. That gap is your protection. It shields you from choices you'll regret and gives you the clarity to act with intention. The more you practice finding it, the more natural it becomes, until eventually, you don't have to think about it. You simply live in control. The mind and body will try to convince you there is no gap. They will tell you it's too urgent, that you must act now, that waiting is weakness. But urgency is often the disguise of impulsivity. The truth is, you almost always have more time than you think. Even a few seconds can be enough to shift your entire direction. That shift can mean the difference between a reaction that damages trust and a response that builds it, between a choice that destroys your progress and one that moves you forward. Every time you claim that space, you are training your mind to see beyond the immediate rush of emotion. You are teaching yourself to rise above the storm instead of being swept away by it. You begin to notice details you would have missed before, the words you actually want to say, the action that aligns with your values, the decision that supports your long-term goals. That awareness is power in its purest form, and it doesn't just change how you handle hard moments. It changes how you live every day. It makes you steadier in conversations, calmer under pressure, more confident in your choices. You stop being someone who is easily provoked, easily swayed, easily broken. Instead, you become someone who others look to for strength, because they can feel that nothing moves you without your permission. That is the strength that comes from mastering the space between feeling and action. Once you see it, once you claim it, you realize it's been there all along, waiting for you to step into it and own it completely. Every emotion you feel is a signal. It is not random, and it is not meaningless. Anger can be a warning that something important to you has been crossed or disrespected. Fear can be a sign that you are stepping into uncertainty or risk. Sadness can reveal where you have experienced loss or where something deeply matters to you. Even joy carries a message. It tells you what aligns with your values and what lights your soul. When you stop seeing emotions as something to fight or suppress, and instead begin to decode them, you shift from being their prisoner to becoming their interpreter. This is the mindset that turns chaos into clarity. Instead of asking how to make a feeling go away, you start asking why it showed up. That single question transforms the energy of the moment. You no longer see the emotion as a problem but as information. And when you have information, you have power. Power to decide if the feeling points to something that needs to change, or if it's simply a temporary wave you can allow to pass. Labeling your emotions is one of the simplest yet most powerful things you can do. When you put a name to what you're feeling, you interrupt the automatic loop of reaction. The brain shifts from raw emotional activity into higher reasoning. Saying to yourself, "This is frustration," or "This is fear," creates just enough space to breathe, to think, and to choose. It is like turning a bright light onto a shadow. It stops being unknown, and once it's known, it becomes manageable. Many people run from their emotions because they believe feeling them will make them weaker. The truth is the opposite. Denying what you feel robs you of the chance to understand yourself. Avoiding the signal doesn't erase the problem, it only blinds you to it. But when you lean in and listen, you begin to see the pattern. You begin to understand what triggers certain feelings, what situations bring them alive, and what choices keep them from controlling you. This is how mastery is built, not by never feeling anger, fear, or sadness again, but by being able to experience them fully without letting them dictate your behavior. You are not the emotion. You are the observer of it. You are the one who decides what to do with it. And that shift is everything. When you start treating emotions as valuable messengers instead of dangerous forces, you stop being afraid of them. You stop running from them. You start meeting them with curiosity, with strength, with intention. And when you can do that, no emotional state can overpower you. Because you will always be the one holding the map, reading the signals, and choosing the direction forward. That is the moment you stop being controlled and start leading yourself with unshakable clarity. You cannot wait for the moment of emotional intensity to figure out how to respond. By then, your mind is already flooded, your breathing has changed, and your focus has narrowed to the heat of the feeling. Mastery is built in the quiet, ordinary moments when nothing is pressing you. It's in those moments that you train your mind to pause, to notice, and to choose. The more you strengthen this skill in calm situations, the more automatic it becomes when storms arrive. You are preparing your nervous system, conditioning it to slow down before it reacts, teaching it that you are in charge. Start by practicing small pauses during the day. A pause when your phone rings before you answer. A pause before you step into a conversation. A pause before you take that first sip of coffee. These moments might seem insignificant, but they are not. Every pause is a repetition, a mental rep that builds your capacity to create space between emotion and action. You are wiring your brain to expect choice before reaction. That is how the gap grows wider. That is how the space becomes a natural part of you. This practice changes the way you move through the world. Instead of being pulled in every direction by moods, interruptions, and impulses, you begin to move with steadiness. The same external events that used to throw you off balance now meet a calmer, more deliberate version of you. It's not that challenges disappear. They will always come. The difference is that you meet them from a grounded state instead of a reactive one. And that difference can change the outcome of everything you touch. The pause is not just a delay, it is a shift in power. In that brief stillness, you are gathering information, regulating your body, and aligning with your values. You are telling your emotions, I see you, but you do not own me. You are reclaiming the right to decide what comes next. The more you experience this, the more you realize how much strength lives in stillness. There will be times when the pull to react feels almost impossible to resist. The old patterns will try to drag you back. But each time you choose the pause, even for a second, you weaken those patterns and strengthen the muscle of control. Over time, it becomes instinct to stop before you move, to breathe before you speak, to choose before you act. And that instinct is what makes you unshakable. When you can create stillness inside yourself at will, no chaos outside of you can take away your clarity. You become the steady center in the middle of any storm. You are no longer living at the mercy of emotion. You are leading it, shaping it, and directing it toward the life you choose. That is the power you are building with every pause. Your body is the doorway to your emotional state, and learning to master it gives you direct access to your mind. Every feeling you experience is mirrored in your physiology. When stress hits, your shoulders rise, your breath becomes shallow, your muscles tighten. When you feel confident, your posture opens, your movements slow, your breathing deepens. Most people let these changes happen unconsciously, unaware that the body is not just a reflection of emotion, it is also the control panel. By changing your physical state, you can change the way you feel. The fastest way to shift an emotion is to shift the body that is carrying it. If anxiety grips you, slow your breathing and lower your shoulders. If frustration rises, stand tall, expand your chest, and move with deliberate strength. This is not pretending to feel better, it is using the same pathways your emotions use to influence you, but in reverse. The mind listens to the body. When you take control of your physical presence, you send signals back to your brain that change the emotional chemistry in real time. You may have noticed that certain postures and movements feed the emotion you are feeling. Hunched shoulders make sadness heavier. Fidgeting makes nervousness worse. This is because the feedback loop between your body and mind is constant. Break that loop, and you break the momentum of the emotion. Stand differently, breathe differently, move differently. These small, intentional changes disrupt the automatic pattern and give you the opening to choose a new state. This is why moments of stillness are so powerful. When you freeze the body, you interrupt the rush of reaction. It is like pressing pause on an entire chain of events before it gathers force. In that pause, you can reset your breathing, adjust your posture, and realign yourself physically with the emotion you want to feel instead. It might take only seconds, but those seconds can turn a destructive impulse into a constructive choice. The beauty of this approach is that it works anywhere, in any situation, without anyone knowing you were doing it. You could be in a meeting, in a conversation, or alone in your room, and you can shift your state instantly by changing how you hold yourself. Over time, you stop waiting for emotions to fade before taking control. You take control first, and the emotions follow. When you master your physical state, you are no longer a passive recipient of whatever emotion arrives. You become the initiator, the one who decides how you feel and how you act, regardless of circumstance. Your body becomes an ally in your emotional freedom, a constant reminder that you are never powerless, never without options, and never at the mercy of what you feel. This is how you anchor yourself in strength, no matter what comes. You cannot erase emotions from your life, and you shouldn't try. They are part of being human, part of the depth and richness of your experience. The problem is never the emotion itself, but the belief that control means suppression. Pushing emotions down, pretending they aren't there, or forcing yourself to ignore them only gives them more strength. What you resist persists, and what you try to bury will eventually rise with even greater force. Real control is not about locking your feelings away. It is about allowing them to exist without letting them dictate your choices. When you stop fighting emotions, you release the constant tension of resistance. You create space inside yourself where you can observe the feeling without drowning in it. You can acknowledge, I am feeling anger, or I am feeling fear, and still choose not to be led by it. This is acceptance without surrender. It is the ability to coexist with your emotions, respecting their presence but refusing to give them authority over your actions. That is strength, and it is a strength that cannot be shaken by sudden moods or unexpected triggers. Suppression creates pressure, but acceptance creates freedom. When you let yourself feel without reacting, you take the most powerful step toward mastery. You break the automatic link between emotion and action. You separate the inner experience from the outward expression, and in that separation you gain complete choice. The anger may still burn, the sadness may still ache, the fear may still whisper, but none of it can move you without your permission. That is the kind of control that lasts, because it is rooted in awareness, not force. This is why stillness and observation are not signs of weakness but signs of mastery. It takes far more strength to feel fully and remain steady than it does to push feelings away or act on them blindly. The more you practice allowing emotions to pass through without reacting, the more you realize they are temporary visitors. They arrive, they speak their message, and they leave. When you stop clinging to them or pushing them away, they lose their grip. The moment you stop needing to eliminate emotions in order to feel safe is the moment you become unshakable. You understand that no matter what shows up inside you, you have the ability to stay anchored. You no longer fear being overwhelmed, because you know you can witness the storm without becoming it. That is emotional power in its purest form, the freedom to feel everything and still move exactly where you choose to go. Once you know that place inside yourself, nothing outside of you can take it away. When you no longer fear your own emotions, you stop being at the mercy of the world around you. External events lose their power to dictate your state of mind. People can speak, act, or react in ways you cannot control, yet your stability remains untouched. This is the shift from being reactive to being sovereign. You do not shrink when challenged. You do not crumble when misunderstood. You do not collapse when things do not go according to plan. Instead, you hold yourself with an unwavering presence, and in that presence, you become immovable. Every trigger that once had the power to derail you now becomes an opportunity to demonstrate your strength. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? But instead recognize, this is my moment to decide who I am. That awareness is the turning point where true resilience is born. You stop fighting against reality and start using it as the very ground on which you build yourself. You are no longer caught in the exhausting cycle of reaction, regret, and recovery. You operate from choice, not from compulsion. This level of mastery is not cold or detached, it is deeply alive. It is not about becoming numb to pain or blind to joy. It is about feeling both fully, yet refusing to be ruled by either. You can stand in the fire of your own emotions and not burn. You can walk through the flood of fear and not drown. You can allow the winds of change to blow through your life without being carried away by them. Your center remains, no matter the storm. The deeper your self-control becomes, the more your energy shifts. People sense it without you speaking. They see it in the way you move, the way you respond, the way you do not scramble to explain yourself or win anyone's approval. You carry an invisible weight, not of burden, but of authority over yourself. That is magnetic. That is what draws respect without demand, trust without pleading, influence without effort. And the more you experience this steadiness, the less you are tempted to give it away. You realize that no argument, no provocation, no fleeting emotional surge is worth losing your inner command. You understand that your calm is not weakness, it is strategy. Your patience is not passivity, it is precision. Every pause you take before acting is a decision to remain aligned with your highest self, rather than being dragged into the chaos of the moment. From this place, life does not feel like something that happens to you. It becomes something you shape, deliberately and with full awareness. You become the one who decides, the one who moves with purpose, the one who refuses to hand over the steering wheel of your life to temporary emotions. This is where your real power lives, and once you taste it, you will never go back. The moment you stop depending on outside validation, you free yourself from the most subtle form of control. Approval no longer becomes the currency you trade your authenticity for. You no longer twist your truth to fit someone else's comfort. You no longer shrink your voice so it won't disturb the fragile peace of others. You stand in the raw certainty of who you are, and that certainty is unshakable. When you no longer need the applause, the silence cannot harm you. When you no longer fear rejection, acceptance loses its power to sway you. This freedom is not arrogance. It is not the dismissal of others, but the refusal to abandon yourself. It is the deep recognition that you are never meant to be shaped by every opinion that passes by. You are meant to be shaped by the principles you choose, the values you commit to, and the vision you refuse to betray. That kind of self-alignment creates a quiet confidence that radiates without announcement. People feel it. They notice you are no longer pulled in every direction. They notice you are not moved by every passing trend or shifting expectation. And when they see that, they begin to respect it, even if they do not understand it. They see that you cannot be easily influenced, and that unsettles those who thrive on control. But you are not here to make the insecure comfortable. You are here to live in alignment with a truth that will outlast temporary approval. That requires a level of self-loyalty so fierce that even in moments of doubt, you do not negotiate your worth. The more you practice this, the more you begin to realize how much of your life has been spent in quiet self-betrayal. All the times you smiled when you wanted to speak. All the times you agreed when you wanted to say no. All the times you played small so others wouldn't feel threatened. You begin to see that every compromise of your truth was a withdrawal from your own power. And when you reclaim it, something inside shifts permanently. Your energy changes, your choices sharpen. You start to say no without explanation, and yes without guilt. You start to walk away from what drains you without second-guessing. You stop chasing after people who only value you when you are convenient. You release the idea that love, friendship, or opportunity must be begged for. You realize that anything requiring you to abandon yourself is not worth having. This is the moment your life begins to align naturally with the people, places, and opportunities meant for you. You no longer force connections. You no longer bargain for your place. You no longer explain your existence. You simply live it, and in doing so you become untouchable, not because you have built walls, but because you have built an unshakable foundation within yourself. True control over your emotions begins the moment you choose to observe without judgment. This means catching yourself in the act of reacting before the reaction controls you. It means noticing the surge of anger, fear, or sadness as it rises inside you, and instead of instantly acting, pausing to simply watch it. This pause is a small space of power where you reclaim authority. In that moment, the emotion is no longer a storm to be fought or a wave to be ridden uncontrollably. It becomes data, information to understand rather than a command to obey. When you cultivate this practice, you build a muscle stronger than impulse. You learn that emotions are signals, not dictators. They tell you where your boundaries lie, where your unmet needs hide, and what parts of yourself want attention. But signals do not demand immediate action. You can listen deeply without surrendering your direction. This is what transforms emotional chaos into emotional clarity. It is the difference between being swept away and steering your own course. The more you embrace this observer role, the more your brain rewires. Neural pathways strengthen that favor calm reflection over impulsive response. You begin to respond with wisdom instead of reacting with habit. You start to realize that not every feeling requires expression in words or actions. Sometimes the greatest power is in restraint, the choice to say nothing, to wait, to breathe, to choose peace over conflict. This mastery grows exponentially when paired with a fierce commitment to your own values. When your actions align with your deepest principles, emotions become allies rather than enemies. You may feel frustration or disappointment, but your core remains intact because your choices are anchored in something greater than momentary feeling. This alignment fuels resilience because you are no longer swinging like a pendulum between extremes. You stand in the center, steady and unshaken. Every time you choose awareness over reaction, you strengthen your identity as the captain of your own mind. You reclaim your power from the unconscious forces that have run the show for too long. This is not about perfection or never feeling overwhelmed. It's about knowing you have the ability to return to calm, to regain control, no matter what emotions arise. This knowledge changes everything. It dissolves fear of vulnerability because you understand you are not your emotions. You are the space in which they arise and pass away. In this space you find freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of mood swings. Freedom from being hijacked by doubt, jealousy, or regret. Freedom from needing external circumstances to validate your worth or determine your peace. This freedom is the greatest gift you can give yourself. It is the key to living a life led by intention, courage, and unwavering self-respect. It is the foundation of never being controlled by your emotions again. Every time you allow yourself to be swept away by emotion, you give away your power. You hand over the steering wheel of your life to feelings that come and go like unpredictable weather. But what if you could stop surrendering so easily? What if you could learn to stand firm, no matter how fierce the storm inside? This is not about suppressing your feelings or pretending they don't exist. It is about learning to meet them with a steady heart and a clear mind. It is about transforming chaos into calm, confusion into clarity, and overwhelm into opportunity. The key lies in understanding that emotions are not enemies to fight but signals to decode. They carry messages from your deepest self, messages about your values, your boundaries, your unmet needs. When you feel anger, it often means a boundary has been crossed. When you feel fear, it often means something important is at risk. When you feel sadness, it often means you have experienced loss or disappointment. Recognizing this allows you to respond with insight, rather than react with impulse. Instead of exploding or withdrawing, you choose to engage thoughtfully, taking actions that honor your truth and serve your growth. This level of emotional intelligence does not come overnight. It is cultivated through daily practice, through moments when you pause, breathe, and become the observer of your own inner world. When you learn to step back and watch your emotions without judgment, you create a sacred space where you can choose your response. This space is your fortress of freedom. It is where the automatic loops of reactivity break down, and conscious choice emerges. With every choice made from this space, you reinforce your mastery over emotion. Mastery also demands self-compassion. You must stop blaming yourself for feeling deeply. You must embrace the fact that emotions are natural and necessary. The goal is not to eliminate them, but to ride their waves with grace. When you are kind to yourself in the midst of emotional turbulence, you lower resistance and open the door to transformation. Compassion softens the edges of pain and allows healing to begin. It strengthens your ability to hold steady, even when the currents threaten to pull you under. The more you commit to this path, the more your life will change. Situations that once triggered anxiety or anger will lose their grip. Relationships will improve as you communicate from calm rather than chaos. Your sense of self-worth will grow because you no longer depend on external validation to feel secure. Instead, you generate an unshakable inner peace that radiates outward, attracting respect and understanding. This journey toward emotional sovereignty is not a destination but a daily practice. It requires courage, the courage to face your feelings honestly, the courage to stand alone if necessary, and the courage to choose yourself above all else. But with each step, you build a life where emotions serve you instead of control you, a life where you lead with wisdom, resilience, and unbreakable calm. This is the promise you are moving toward, the promise of never being controlled by your emotions again. Every decision you make in response to your emotions shapes the architecture of your inner world. If you allow your feelings to control you, that world becomes unstable, shifting, unpredictable, and vulnerable to chaos. But when you learn to choose how you engage with your emotions, you build a fortress of stability inside yourself. This fortress is not made of walls or barriers, but of awareness, acceptance, and deliberate action. It is where your inner strength grows unshakable, where your confidence becomes rooted in something far deeper than fleeting moods or external circumstances. Understanding that emotions are temporary waves rather than permanent states grants you immense power. You begin to see feelings as passing visitors, not permanent residents. This perspective frees you from the illusion that you must act on every impulse or that your worth depends on how you feel at any moment. Instead, you become the conscious architect of your reactions, choosing which emotions deserve your energy and which you release without resistance. This conscious curation creates a mental clarity that fuels resilience, allowing you to face challenges with composure rather than being swept away by turmoil. This practice requires self-discipline, but not in the harsh sense of forcing yourself to suppress feelings. It is a compassionate discipline, one where you honor your emotions by noticing them fully, then gently guiding them toward constructive expression. Anger can become a catalyst for setting stronger boundaries. Fear can become a signal to prepare and protect. Sadness can become a doorway to deeper understanding and healing. When emotions are given this respectful space, they lose their power to dominate and instead become tools for growth and insight. Your daily habits form the backbone of this transformation. Simple rituals like mindful breathing, reflective journaling, or intentional pauses before responding strengthen your ability to create that inner space where choice resides. These practices build new neural pathways, reinforcing the habit of self-observation over impulsive reaction. With time, this becomes second nature. You no longer feel controlled by emotions. Instead, you harness their energy to fuel your purpose. Your emotional responses become aligned with your highest goals, rather than dictated by past wounds or unconscious fears. True mastery over your emotions also deepens your relationships. When you respond from a place of calm and clarity, you invite others to do the same. You break cycles of misunderstanding and conflict because you are no longer a participant in reactive drama. Instead, you model steadiness and emotional intelligence. This not only changes how others see you, but transforms the quality of your connections, fostering trust, respect, and genuine intimacy. At its core, this journey is about reclaiming your sovereignty. It is the profound realization that no external circumstance or inner turmoil has the authority to dictate your peace. You are the guardian of your emotional kingdom, and every moment offers a new opportunity to practice this guardianship. As you embrace this power, you move beyond mere survival. You step into a life led by wisdom, resilience, and unbreakable calm. This is the true freedom you deserve, the freedom to never again be controlled by your emotions. The power to control your emotions is the power to control your destiny. When you claim this power, you break free from cycles of regret, anger, and confusion that have kept you stuck. This freedom does not mean you will never feel pain or disappointment again. It means you will face those moments with a new strength, a strength born from clarity and choice, rather than chaos and reaction. This strength reshapes your inner narrative, replacing stories of helplessness with ones of resilience and hope. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of your feelings, but as a master of them. This mastery changes everything. It transforms how you see challenges, turning obstacles into opportunities to grow stronger and wiser. It rewires your brain to focus less on what threatens you and more on what empowers you. Instead of reacting with fear or anger, you respond with calm determination. You learn to pause before you act, giving yourself the chance to choose the path that serves your highest good. This simple, yet profound shift rewrites the script of your life, allowing you to step into your fullest potential. To walk this path, you must cultivate awareness of your emotional triggers, those hidden buttons that ignite intense reactions. By identifying these triggers, you create space between stimulus and response. This space is your sanctuary, where you decide how to act instead of reacting blindly. In this space, you discover that emotions lose their grip and your true power emerges. You learn to listen to your feelings without becoming enslaved by them, transforming emotional turmoil into a compass guiding you toward growth. Building this awareness is an act of courage and kindness toward yourself. It requires honesty and patience, for emotional control is not about perfection but progress. You will stumble, you will feel overwhelmed at times. Yet each time you return to this practice, you reinforce your ability to lead your inner world with grace. Every moment you choose calm over chaos, you build a foundation of strength that no external force can shake. As you deepen this practice, you begin to notice a profound change in how others respond to you. Your calm confidence acts like a magnet, drawing in people who respect and value your presence. Conflicts lose their intensity because you no longer feed them with reactive energy. Your relationships improve because you communicate from a place of clarity and understanding, not emotional upheaval. This shift elevates every area of your life, personal, professional, and social, creating a ripple effect of peace and purpose. The journey to never being controlled by your emotions again is a daily commitment to yourself. It is a promise to face your feelings with courage and curiosity, to listen deeply, and to respond with intention. With every choice you make to stay grounded, you carve out a life of freedom. Freedom from impulsive reactions, freedom from self-doubt, freedom from the endless cycle of emotional chaos. This freedom is not just a possibility, it is your birthright. Claim it now, and step into a life led by strength, wisdom, and unshakable peace. The foundation of emotional freedom lies in reclaiming your attention. Where your focus goes, energy flows, and your emotions are no exception. When you give your mind to worries, doubts, or past hurts, you feed a cycle that grows louder and more demanding. But when you learn to redirect your focus intentionally, you begin to dismantle that cycle. Attention becomes your greatest ally in the battle against emotional overwhelm. It is the tool that allows you to step back, observe without judgment, and choose your response with clarity and strength. This act of redirecting focus requires practice, but holds immense power. You don't have to control the emotions themselves, you only need to control where your mind lands. The moment you realize that you are not your emotions, but the observer of them, a new door opens. From this vantage point, feelings become signals, information about your inner state and your needs, rather than commands that dictate your behavior. You gain the ability to acknowledge emotions without being dragged into their storm. This shift creates a space where choice and freedom reside. Mastering your attention also means training your brain to notice what serves your growth rather than what triggers pain. This is not about ignoring or suppressing emotions, but about prioritizing your energy. When anxiety rises, you might choose to focus on your breath, grounding yourself in the present moment instead of spiraling into fear. When anger surfaces, you can bring awareness to the sensation in your body without reacting impulsively. This focused attention transforms your emotional experience, turning intensity into insight and chaos into calm. The brain is plastic, which means it adapts and rewires based on where you place your attention consistently. Every moment spent practicing this skill strengthens your neural pathways of self-control and emotional resilience. Over time, this rewiring makes it easier to maintain calm in the face of stress and to respond with wisdom rather than reaction. This transformation is the result of deliberate mental training, not luck or willpower alone. It is the daily decision to reclaim your power by guiding your mind with purpose. Alongside this mental discipline, cultivating compassion toward yourself deepens your emotional mastery. It is natural to struggle, to feel overwhelmed, or to falter in moments of stress. Instead of harsh self-judgment, offer yourself understanding and patience. This kindness creates a safe internal environment where growth can flourish. When you treat your emotions with respect rather than resistance, you lower their intensity and gain greater control over their influence. Compassion is not weakness, it is a powerful tool for healing and transformation. As this practice takes root, your entire experience of life begins to shift. You become less reactive to external events, more grounded in your center, and more aligned with your true values. You stop giving power to fear, doubt, or anger, and instead channel your energy toward purposeful action. This inner calm becomes your anchor in the storm, your source of strength when life challenges you. It shapes your identity, not as someone controlled by emotion, but as someone who commands them with grace and courage. This mastery over your attention and emotions opens a new chapter of freedom. It allows you to move through life with intention and clarity, creating the reality you desire. Each moment becomes an opportunity to choose peace, strength, and empowerment. You are no longer a passenger on an emotional roller coaster, but the steady pilot guiding your journey. This is the true power that sets you free, the power to decide how you feel, respond, and live. You are the master of your inner world, but mastery does not come from fighting your emotions. True mastery arises when you learn to embrace them fully, without resistance or fear. Emotions are not enemies to be defeated. They are messengers revealing what matters most to you. When you deny or suppress them, you build walls that trap you in cycles of frustration and confusion. But when you accept emotions as part of your human experience, you unlock the gateway to transformation. This acceptance empowers you to respond wisely instead of reacting impulsively. This acceptance begins with awareness, the ability to recognize what you are feeling in the moment without judgment. It means naming your emotions honestly, whether they are anger, sadness, fear, or joy. Labeling emotions calms the brain's threat response, making feelings less overwhelming. Awareness creates a pause between stimulus and reaction, giving you a chance to choose how to engage with your emotions. This pause is where power lives. It is the space where you decide if your feelings will control you or serve you. When you embrace your emotions with curiosity and openness, you invite clarity. You start to understand the root causes behind intense feelings instead of being blinded by their surface noise. This understanding transforms emotions from chaotic storms into clear signals guiding your next steps. You learn to listen deeply to what your emotional responses reveal about your needs, boundaries, and values. This insight allows you to act with intention, aligning your choices with who you truly are and what you want to create. Acceptance also dissolves the fear of being overwhelmed. When you resist emotions, they grow louder and more insistent, but when you welcome them, you disarm their power over you. You see emotions as waves passing through, knowing they will rise and fall naturally. This perspective reduces anxiety and gives you confidence that no feeling can consume you permanently. You build resilience not by avoiding discomfort, but by moving through it with grace and strength. Your relationship with your emotions sets the tone for your entire life. When you fight or ignore feelings, you drain your energy and lose touch with yourself. When you accept and understand them, you unlock a deep well of wisdom and creativity. Emotions become a source of guidance rather than distraction. They fuel your motivation, deepen your connections with others, and enrich your sense of meaning. This alignment with your emotional truth fuels unstoppable momentum toward the life you desire. This transformation requires courage, the courage to face your emotions honestly, without hiding or pretending. It takes discipline to practice awareness daily, and to lean into discomfort rather than flee from it. But every moment spent embracing your feelings strengthens your emotional intelligence and self-mastery. You develop an inner fortress of calm and clarity that no external circumstance can shake. This strength becomes your foundation for growth, success, and fulfillment. Imagine moving through life with this unwavering control, not control over emotions as enemies, but mastery born from acceptance and understanding. You become unshakable in your peace, powerful in your purpose, and free from the chains of emotional turmoil. This is the liberation that comes when you stop fighting your feelings and start befriending them. It is the key to never being controlled by emotions again. It is your path to true freedom. To truly break free from the grip of your emotions, you must build a new relationship with your mind, the very place where feelings take shape and grow. Your mind is a powerful instrument, capable of either enslaving you or setting you free. When emotions surge, they often hijack your thoughts, pulling you into loops of worry, regret, or anger. But this doesn't have to be your reality. You can train your mind to become your ally, not your captor. This transformation starts with cultivating a calm, observing presence inside yourself. A witness that watches emotions arise without being swept away by them. This presence, often called mindfulness, is a simple yet profound tool that rewires your brain. It allows you to notice your emotions as passing experiences rather than permanent states. You begin to see that emotions are like clouds drifting across the sky of your awareness, sometimes dark, sometimes light, but never fixed or permanent. This mental clarity creates space between you and your feelings, dissolving the illusion that you must react instantly or lose control. With practice, you learn to pause, breathe, and choose your response instead of reacting blindly. Strengthening this mental presence requires daily commitment. It's not about perfection, but about persistence. Each time you catch yourself lost in emotional overwhelm and gently bring your focus back to the present moment, you strengthen the neural pathways of calm and control. This rewiring helps reduce impulsivity and builds emotional resilience. The more you practice, the more automatic this calm becomes. Even in the face of intense emotions or external pressure, your mind becomes a steady anchor, grounding you firmly in your power. Beyond just observing, your mind must also learn to challenge the stories that fuel emotional turmoil. Often, emotions gain strength because of the narratives we create, stories of failure, rejection, or injustice. These narratives shape your reality and intensify feelings, but you have the power to question and rewrite these internal scripts. When negative thoughts arise, ask yourself, is this true? Is this helpful? What is the evidence? This simple act of skepticism weakens destructive thoughts and stops them from spiraling out of control. It rewires your brain to focus on reality rather than fear or false assumptions. This process of mindful observation and cognitive reframing is a revolutionary act of self-care. It builds emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your feelings in a healthy way. Emotional intelligence is the foundation of true freedom from being controlled by emotions. It allows you to face challenges without panic, to communicate clearly instead of reacting defensively, and to make choices based on clarity rather than confusion. This intelligence is a muscle that grows stronger every time you use it. Imagine the power of your mind as a calm, clear river flowing steadily through any storm. Emotions may rise like waves, but the river's current remains unshaken. You become the calm observer, the wise chooser, the master of your emotional experience. This is not a distant ideal. It is a skill you can develop starting now. You are capable of building this strength inside you, and with it, you claim your freedom. No longer will your emotions control you. Instead, you will control them, and in doing so, you will control your life. This journey to emotional mastery requires a profound shift in how you view yourself and your experiences. For too long, you may have believed that emotions are uncontrollable forces that dominate your mind and dictate your behavior. That belief is not just limiting, it is a lie. You possess a remarkable capacity to shape your inner world. When you recognize this, you reclaim your power. You begin to see that emotional freedom is not about suppressing feelings or pretending they don't exist. It's about embracing them fully with courage, and then choosing how you respond. This choice is where true strength lives. To make this choice, you must develop deep self-awareness. This means paying attention to your emotional patterns, triggers, and reactions without judgment. Self-awareness is like a spotlight in a dark room. It reveals hidden corners where automatic reactions dwell. Once illuminated, these reactions lose their power to surprise or overwhelm you. Instead, You can meet them with curiosity and compassion. You stop running from your feelings or trying to drown them out with distractions. Instead, you learn to listen, understand, and respond wisely. This awareness transforms fear into insight, chaos into clarity. Awareness also builds confidence. When you know what emotions arise in specific situations, you are less likely to be caught off guard. You become skilled at predicting your responses and preparing for them. This preparation is not about control through force, it's about gentle guidance. Like a gardener tending plants, you nurture emotional growth instead of forcing change. You learn which emotions need expression, which need patience, and which need transformation. This mindful tending creates a balanced inner ecosystem where emotions serve you instead of sabotaging you. The path of emotional freedom also demands resilience. You will face setbacks, moments when emotions feel overpowering or overwhelming. This is normal. Growth is not a straight line, it's a spiral. Each challenge is an opportunity to deepen your strength and wisdom. When emotions arise fiercely, remind yourself that this is a sign of life, a sign of your capacity to feel deeply. Rather than resist, lean into this energy with respect and intention. Ask yourself what this feeling wants to teach you. This shift in perspective turns emotional turmoil into a powerful teacher rather than a tyrant. You must also cultivate patience with yourself. Changing lifelong emotional habits takes time and consistent effort. There's no quick fix, no magic switch. But every step you take, no matter how small, builds momentum. Every moment you choose awareness over reaction strengthens your foundation. This patience is a gift you give yourself, a recognition that you deserve peace and freedom, even if the journey is slow. Celebrate progress, not perfection. Honor your courage to face the internal battle daily. Finally, remember that emotional freedom is deeply connected to your overall well-being. When you learn to manage emotions skillfully, every part of your life improves. Relationships grow stronger because you communicate clearly and listen deeply. Stress diminishes because you respond calmly instead of reacting wildly. Your mind becomes a source of peace, creativity, and purpose instead of confusion and fear. This transformation is not abstract, it's tangible and real. It's a life where you hold the pen, writing your story with clarity and strength. You are not a victim of your emotions. You are their master, guiding them with wisdom toward your highest self.